art house and the art space. And that is on top of the offering that we regularly have, and that is also on top of our tithes. So we're so incredibly grateful if you gave, and if you didn't give, you can still give. But I want to say thank you for your offerings. Thank you for what all of you do. The beautiful thing about a church is that a church runs, at least a church like Epic Church, runs almost 100% on volunteer work. That's one of the most beautiful things about what we do here, that we don't really have to be here. It's not in my, like we're not here because it's a job description, it's not an obligation. We're here because God has calling us to a higher calling, to a purpose, to a mission. So, and that part of that is giving, and I'm so thankful. So we wanted to say thank you for that. And in that same spirit, we wanted to say thank you to the awesome volunteers that made the Fall Fest a reality. Last Sunday, we received almost 26 people from the community that walked through those doors and were part of what we did here. They participated in the photo booth. By the way, if you are in the mood of a selfie with a photo booth type of situation, you're more than welcome to use what we have here today. And it was so good. We had a lot of people, a lot of children. You can see the pictures that were having a good time. People from the church were having a great time. The volunteers, there was a couple that a friend of Epic invited, and they spent almost like 1 hour just talking to people here. And that's how we create relationships with people in the community. The children were extremely happy. My kids were extremely happy. So we want to say thank you to everyone who made it possible. And we know that the volunteer commitment in Epic Church, both churches, and for us today in Epic Church Chicago is pretty high. So we wanted to say thank you for being part of that outreach. And also November 26th, we're going to have a Thanksgiving Sabbath. So I want to invite you to be there, to be here this specific Sabbath. I am not speaking. Ruth and Jeff Bradburn, they're speaking together again. We really appreciate them. And I was like, every Thanksgiving I preach. And this weekend I would like to have a younger upcoming pastor preaching here the message. So he's going to be sharing the message. It's going to be really, really great. That's the other thing that we love about Epic. Epic is a place where people find opportunities to grow and to develop in their leadership, in their management, and in their discipleship. So with that being said, let's get into the Word. So last weekend, we studied the beautiful story of origin. We talk about how important it is to have our origin clear. And if you have your origin clear, having your identity clear is like standing in solid ground. Do you like those bridges? There is this bridge in British Columbia. It's a pretty long bridge. And it's what do you call it? It's a swinging bridge with two big lines, and then when you are walking through it, everything moves, and then you have to hold to either one of those ropes. Do you like walking through those? No? Some people love it. To be honest with you, to me, oh my goodness, it's very unnerving, because I don't know about you, I like to be on solid ground. I like to be standing on solid ground. That's why, maybe because I grew up in a city with earthquakes, I feel that I just cannot be on shaky ground. I need to be on solid ground. So the book of Genesis provides you and me with religious, faith-based Christian worldview for what is your solid ground in life, and that is your origin. But then something went terribly wrong, horribly wrong in that story. Everything was great. We know that in Genesis chapter 2, something happened, unfortunately. We know that in Genesis chapter 2, something beautiful happened, the first marriage. God created Adam and Eve. He introduced Eve to Adam, and I love to preach about that when I do a marriage, because what happened is that when God introduced Eve to Adam, there is something that you cannot read in English or in any other language. You know, he says, when he met Adam, after God introduced her to him, there is this word in Hebrew, is because remember the phrase is, this is flesh of my flesh, bones of my bones, remember? But in Hebrew, there is the word this, and then there is a silence. You know, for if you like music, in music writing, you have silence. So there is a silence in Hebrew. So a lot of scholars think that what happened is that when Adam saw Eve, he went like this. So Adam, by the way, let me introduce you to someone. This is Isha. That was her name. This is Isha. Ish, let me introduce you to Isha. So he looks at her and then he goes like this. And then he gasped for air. And he was so overtaken by the beauty of Eve and by the beauty of Eve's creation that he went silent. He just went like, he could not even talk. And creation was beautiful. And then the first marriage happened. And that marriage was celebrated Friday night. So they spent their first Sabbath together. And that's where we find our foundations for who we are. And now, everything was great. And God said, there is a tree in the middle of the garden. You cannot eat from that one. You can eat from any other tree in the garden, but not from this one. And what happened, Epic Church? That's where everything went wrong, didn't it? That's when everything broke down. That's where the identity broke down. That's where the beauty of the garden broke down. They had everything they needed. And God said, do not eat from that tree. The serpent shows up. She was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. And he said to the woman, did God really say you must not eat from the tree in the garden? Now, I want you to pay close attention to what she is saying. She is not saying God lied. He's lying to you. The way he's presenting it is not as a counter argument. Do you notice that the serpent is not arguing against the truth statement that God is making? You are going to die. He's not arguing. Instead of arguing, he's introducing doubt. He's introducing doubt. Did God really say? And what is really more dangerous about this is that he's using the words of God to make Adam and Eve, or in this case Eve, doubt from God's word. So you see what he's saying? He's not saying, here is a whole brand new way of looking at life. No, he's introducing doubt by quoting religious reasons to doubt. So incredibly powerful. So incredibly powerful. And the way the question is worded, did God really say? Did God really say? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat fruit from the trees in the garden, but God say, okay, you must not eat from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or what will happen? What will happen? Okay, so today we're going to see briefly three things. Number one, what went wrong, the consequences of what went wrong, and the cure. So what went wrong, the consequences, and the cure. So what went wrong? Verse 4, you will certainly not die, the serpent said to the woman. For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be what? And you will be like God, knowing what? Knowing what? Good, and what else? And evil. Okay, so what do we have here, Epic Church? What we have here is that the serpent is redefining reality for Adam and Eve. He's redefining, or he's attempting to redefine reality for Adam and Eve at the level of identity. He's saying, he's actually saying, this is what he's saying. He's saying, if you follow God, you will become the lesser version of yourself. You will become the version of yourself with the less potential, to the point that if you follow God, he's not saying it like this, but this is what he's saying. You won't become a God. But if you follow your own instincts, if you follow your own desires, if you follow your own perceptions, what will happen is that you will not die, but not only you will not die, you will be like God, knowing good and evil. You will become like God, knowing good and evil. That is the greatest temptation. So what went wrong? What is sin? What is sin? As a Seventh-day Adventist church, we have defined sin behaviorally a lot, and we have reasons to, because in the New Testament, a lot of times sin is defined behaviorally. But here is deeper. What is happening here is just not a behavior that is being displayed on the part of Eve and Adam. There is something else that happens before the behavior is displayed. The moment she's engaging with the serpent goes to her and basically she asks that question, and then Eve engages back with the serpent, and then she starts hearing the lie. She starts rationalizing the lie. Now, some theologians believe that the nature of sin is at the core relational distrust. Because if God said it, you see, God did not need to write a PhD dissertation with instructions and a manual and maybe like an app to explain, like design an app for Adam and Eve to explain why you should not eat from the garden, why you should not eat from this particular tree. By the way, there is nothing magical about the tree. It's not like it was a magical tree, that it was glimmering with, and then like nice background music, in the background. There was nothing magical about that particular fruit. It was the principle of disobedience. So what really happened is that it was good enough for God to say it. In other words, he didn't have to explain himself. He didn't have to explain himself. If God is saying it, that is reason enough to obey it. If God is saying it, that is reason enough to obey it. Why? Because God here is not only creating the universe, life is perfect as it is for them. He's creating the earth. He's lovingly breathing life into their existence. There is harmony. And here now the temptation is you will become like gods. And they start believing that. It says there in verse 6, and the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eyes and desirable for gaining wisdom. So that was her perception. She took some and ate it. And her husband gave some to her husband who was with her and ate it. And then the eyes of both of them were open. And then they realized they were naked, so they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for them. So what is happening here is that sin, the relational distrust, starts taking place when they believe the lie that they can become the best version of themselves their way. That they can become the best version of themselves by themselves. That they don't really need Yahweh to become the best version of themselves. That to become the best version, that actually the implication from the serpent is that if you decide to follow God, your potential will be diminished. And that is the great lie that I have seen a lot of people buy today. the more you become that version of yourself, the more you become a disciple of Jesus, the less time you're going to have. The less time you're going to have. And there are new gospels. I'm sorry, I have to say it. And I don't know if this is going to get me kicked out of this platform, but I have to say it. You know, in so many platforms, so all of the long-term content, short-term content, there are gospels that are being preached to millions of people, and millions of people are buying it. And they become the ultimate source of wisdom. These people on TikTok and some other platforms and YouTube. And basically those gospels, modern day versions of this, go something like this. The most important person in the universe is you. You need to take care of you. You need to give thanks to you. It's all about you. You cannot help others, and there is some wisdom in that, right? But it's so you-centered. Everything's just you. You first, then everyone else is second. And what is happening right now in Culture Epic Church is that everyone, basically, your comfort level is your God. Whatever you feel is like your comfort level. Whatever is you feel is your limit. That is where you should not go, because you are going to be discomfort. You're going to be in discomfort. And God forbids you being in discomfort. And God forbids you are in discomfort for the name of the kingdom. You should never be in discomfort for the name of anyone else, and specifically not for the name of God. And here God is saying something completely and absolutely different. He's saying, if you want to be the best version of yourself, that is actually found in a flourishing, beautiful relationship with me. But she was starting to believe the lie. And what is a lie, Epic Church? What is a lie? The lie is you will become like a God, knowing good and evil. So what is really unfortunate is they both eat from the fruit. They don't become gods, but also they don't die, apparently, right? And of course, I don't want to make it graphic, but then for the very first time, they know what shame is. You see what I mean? Right? For the very first time, they feel nakedness. They feel shame and guilt. They know that something has changed. At that point, immortality was taken away from them, and they did know good from evil, but not in a God-like way. They didn't become eternals. Have you noticed how many of the most influential movies right now in the world, have you noticed how many of those movies basically promote a view in which all of us can somehow achieve eternity? For God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be open. You will become the best version of yourself. Then, so that is the origin, is that relational distrust from God. Because there are serpents whispering all over the place. You don't need God. You actually can do it this other way. Like, why are you even investing yourself in prayer? Like, why even try? Look at everyone else. Everyone else is not committed. Look at, there is a lot of secular people around you. Like, why do you even persevere, man? Like, what's wrong with you? That you're giving a lot of your time to this Christianity, this relationship with God. Just look around you. Wake up. This is worthless. There's a lot of whispers going on. But if you pay attention in the New Testament, the voice of God often comes as a whisper too. And the voice of God often whispers something different. And it whispers, I'm here with you. I love you. I heard a pastor saying this week, you cannot obey your way to salvation, and you cannot disobey your way from salvation. In other words, my obedience does not buy me my salvation. And when I disobey, God is not going to stop loving me. That is grace. Amen? That is amazing grace. There is another way, and that is God's way. And God's way is stay in a relationship with me. See, they didn't sin the moment they ate from the fruit. The physical aspect of them grasping. Have you ever had one of those moments when everyone's going like, don't do it, in slow motion? I remember when I was playing basketball in a tournament when I was in high school, and we were losing and we were going to lose. The other team was just so good, and this guy was jumping, and I was going to commit a foul, and I only had, how many do you have, 3 or 5? 5? 5, right? I already had 4, and I saw all of my friends going, because they knew I was going to do it. And all of my friends were, I saw them, believe me, it's the only time. I look at them, and then I look at the guy, and everyone's like, Andres, don't do it. And I did it. And I did it. And you imagine that moment when she's going for it, and all of the millions and billions of angels are shouting. What are they shouting? I know what you're thinking, Eve. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking, Adam. And everyone in the universe is like, don't do it. And then they go for it. Because the problem is not the behavior. The behavior is the outcome. The sin is the heart. The sin is the relational distrust. So that is the urgent. That is what happened. What is the consequence? The consequence is a relationship was broken. Now the relationship is broken. Verse 10. He answered, verse 9, but the Lord God called Adam, where are you? And he answered, I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. And then Yahweh asked a very important question. Who told you that you were naked? How did you know you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree that I commanded you not to eat from? So the first thing that goes when relational trust is broken is relational proximity. You cannot look at the person the same way, or the person cannot look at you the same way. Something has been broken, and when that relationship has been broken, the next time you see the person, like you see the person that you have something against them, and you go like, oh, man, can you talk to me? Just let's huddle, guys. Come on, let's huddle, because I want to avoid that person right now. And Adam and Eve, they were huddling with each other, and they already have a leaf-based fashion design on them. And everyone, everyone in the universe is like, what are you doing? Like all of the angels, what are you doing? And God looks at them like, why are you hiding? Well, we were hiding because we ate from the fruit. Is that what they said? We were hiding because we realized what? We are naked. How do you know you're naked? Did you eat from the fruit? And then this is where the cycle of blaming starts. The right response from Adam would have said, I ate from the fruit. Forgive me. Right? But instead, he looked at Eve and he goes like, the woman, it says like this. I wish I was making this up. I have read this since I was like a child. But I'm not making this up. The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from it and I ate it. So, what was the right response? What was the right response? The response is, did you eat from the fruit that I told you not to eat from? I found the fruit and I ate it. Right? But no, he doesn't do that. He's like, it's her fault. It's her fault. And then Yahweh looks at Eve, at Isha. Hey, Isha, what happened? What have you done? Is this what you have done? And then Isha goes like, the serpent that, by the way, you created, deceived me, and I ate it. And then, the blaming circle starts. So first is like, Adam, take responsibility for no way. Eve, are you going to take responsibility for it? No way. No way. I kind of like this attempt of becoming like you. Maybe there is some wisdom in that, right? And then Yahweh, something very strong happens, because then Yahweh looks at the serpent. Because you have done this, cursed are you above all livestock and all wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and you will eat dust all of the days of your life. And so the consequence, before I go into verse 15, because in verse 15 there is hope. The consequence is that the relationship between Isha and Ish and Yahweh further breaks away. The gap becomes so hard. This is where Romans 6:23 becomes a reality. For the wages of sin is what? The wages of sin is death. At that point, they are dying. They are dying because they have lost eternal life. They have lost the relationship with Jesus. They have lost that integrity. The integrity of the relationship has been broken. There is no more hope. And it's just not the act of disobeying. It's just not the physical act of eating from the fruit. What is really breaking the relationship here is that they are vying the lie that you can become the best version of yourself as long as you stay in that space where you believe that you can become like a God. You can achieve your full potential without God. You can set your own limits. And God is saying, no. No. There is no such a thing. This is a lie. Everyone's telling you. I think today more than ever, through all of the mediums that we have, we are receiving that message loud and clear all over the place. Music, social media influencers, friends, everyone's buying that lie. You can become the best version of yourself. You're the most person in the universe. You're the most important person in the universe. There is no one that is more important than you. And I can tell you that people that believe that, they are not happy. There is no happiness in that. And the relationship with God becomes even more and more distant. To the point of death. But God is taking action. He's going to judge them, yes, as you know later. There will be consequences, but then he's going to judge Satan too. He's going to judge the serpent. And in verse 15 it says here, I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and hers. He, the offspring, will crush your head, and you will strike his heel. And that, my friends, without doing so much exegesis and hermeneutics, that is the first promise of Jesus' coming to the earth and his sacrifice for all of us. And what happens after that? There is more consequences. He said to the woman, I will make your pains childbearing very severe. Your painful labor will give birth to children. To him he said, because you have listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree that I commanded you, you must not eat it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat fruit from it. They were expelled from the garden. However, something happened here. Verse 21. The Lord God made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. And this is really powerful because what is happening, this morning I was just going to wear this blazer that I have with me right now. But I didn't because it's too cold. And when I was just wearing this, I felt like I was lacking something. So I put a jacket on and I felt a little bit better. But going out like this in the cold right now is not fun. Imagine the cold that they felt after they sinned. Imagine what they felt in their hearts. It was horrible. But then they're trying to fix it. Imagine trying to have a fashionista leaf-based coat right now outside. It's not going to be fun. But instead of that, God actually sacrifices the first animal, the first lamb. He sacrifices the first animal to clothe him. The first sacrifice that's ever recorded in the Bible is because of Adam and Eve. And then after that, there is a sacrifice that is foreshadowed about or regarding the sacrifice of Jesus that is coming in the future. So what is the cure? The cure is forgiveness. The forgiveness that comes because of the sinfulness of my desire to be far away from God. Like, that desire to be far away from God, make no mistake, is not moral failure, is not ignorance, it is a sin. And it offends God. Not only offends God, but it destroys his image within us. But what I love the most about the story, now I'm getting cold, I'm sorry. What I love more about the story of the church, that even though these people are in full rebellion, Adam and Eve, our first parents, they're in full rebellion. God, let's find the grace in it. God comes down and he asks the question, where are you? And when they try to fool him, they go like, no, I know better. I know what happened here. Oh, and by the way, let me give you a promise. Jesus is coming. And he's going to forgive you of your sin. He's going to reach again that relationship. Oh, and by the way, to give you an example of that, let's take away your attempt for solving your own problem, and let me give you a beautiful, brand new clothing that is going to represent the grace of God. The serpent is going to strike Jesus' heel, but Jesus is going to crush the head of the serpent in the cross of Calvary. And that's what happened. And that serpent, let me share this with you, my friends. That serpent is still whispering today. It's still whispering lies today. So many different lies. Lies that sound religious, lies that sound secular, lies that sound agnostic, lies that comes from within is still whispering. But the beauty of it is that although the serpent is still whispering, God is still speaking. And he's still saying, I love you. I died for you. The great master lie is that we can become the best version of ourselves without God. But the great rescue is that although we believe that lie, Jesus comes down to break the curse of sin and bring us back into a relationship with him and to forgive us. And at the end of every single disobedience that we commit, there is a greater grace available to all of us. All of us are already forgiven the moment we come to Christ. The moment we come to Christ and we go like, God, what I was thinking, please clothe me with your grace. What I was thinking, why did I even go there? Why did I even thought that? And at that moment, the grace of God brings you back. And you're going to hear the beautiful, the serpent is whispering, but God is speaking clearly, I love you, I'm here, where are you? And all we have to do is to hear that voice speaking from God in our hearts, bringing us back to him. So what is the problem? We believe the lie. What is the consequence? The relationship gets broken. What is the cure? Jesus' sacrifice for us. And that's where we find our hope. That's where we find joy and happiness as we commit our lives completely and absolutely to Jesus Christ. And why don't we remember that? We're going to play a video right now that is going to help you think more about what I was just teaching. And then after that, Ever is going to lead us in worship once again. Then after that, we're going to say hi and fellowship and celebrate the grace that has been given to us individually and as a community. Enjoy the video. Thank you.